I'm having some trouble finding local agents to work with. I reached out to some realtors on Bigger Pockets and emailed about a half a dozen of them. Haven't gotten any reply back. I was wondering if you have any suggestions.
Yeah, I would call them.
Right, I do call them and leave messages, but
Mhm.
I'm not getting any callbacks.
Okay, what are you saying?
I am saying that I need a realtor that can help me with acquiring properties in the target market and also help me manage the properties. I need a buyer's agent.
You said manage the properties?
Yes,
What do you mean, like a property management company?
yes, if they can recommend a company that can do the management, or they know somebody that can does that.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, there isn't anything that you're saying there that seems out of the ordinary. Um, there's really nothing that you can, I mean, it's a numbers game, right? It's, there are some agents that are hungry that want to do the work and some agents that aren't hungry. So, I would definitely suggest that it's just keep doing it. Fill out those forms and then send them in. That's just one way of finding an agent. And another one is to, look at properties that are for sale in certain areas and reach out to those agents. You can actually start a conversation in Bigger Pockets. So don't use continue to use their matchmaker, but try actually starting a conversation in one of the forums.
I tried doing that and they banned me and said that you're not supposed to do that because once you start posting that you're looking for an agent for investor, then you get inundated with too many messages, and it's just we're not going to allow that. So they just didn't let me do that from Bigger Pockets.
Yeah, you used to be able to do that. They're I guess right now they're forcing people into this match
Right.
tool because they make money off of this now. Now they're charging agents for them to be here.
Oh,
In the past, that wasn't the case.
I see. So I was thinking maybe reaching out to some of the big real estate companies, and they have a front desk, and just ask who the agent is in charge, or then start a conversation with them and see if that's something that they can help me with.
Yeah, like I said, it's a numbers game, right? Because it doesn't sound like you're saying anything that would make them, there's raising any flags, like red flags. So
What would be an example
I
of
think
that?
you're doing it okay. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's just, agents are a weird bunch.
What would be an example of the red flag for an agent that you should avoid?
Well, if you call in and a lot of them don't want to work with wholesalers right out of the gate.
I see.
So if you just called and said, "Hey, I'm a wholesaler," that might not be something that they would want to jump on immediately.
Right.
If you called in and said, "I'm brand new, I need someone to hold my hand," something like that might deter somebody. They just want to earn a commission like everybody else, but they don't want to put a lot of work in to earn the commission. So
I tell them that I'm already pre-qualified, I have the down payment, and I'm ready to go, but still having problem finding any agent that wants to work with me.
it's not an uncommon problem, unfortunately. A lot of people are facing the same thing as you.
Got it.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't think you're doing anything wrong. So just keep on that. And if you find somebody that you want me to take a look at, send them over and I'll check it out. But I wouldn't be able to say like, oh yeah, this person will or will not call you back. And it may not just be after the first time, because I call agents too when I'm launching new markets, and it always surprises me how many people don't call me back. So it isn't anything that you're doing.
Some will start with you, and after a while, they drop you too.
Yeah.
for whatever reason.
Yep. It certainly will.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do a little video here, you guys. So Sandra, can I ask you to turn off your camera for 10 minutes? I'm going to be filming a video that I'm going to be sending out. And it's kind of like a little like demo video. So I'm going to stop your video for a moment, okay?
Okay.
And not that there's anything wrong with you, Sandra.
No.
Just want to make sure that that's clear.
Mhm.
I love when people put their cameras on. And if you could, guys, just give me like 6 or 7 minutes while I'm doing this, and it'll be part of the training for today anyway. It's just, I just want to record it. So I appreciate that. Hey guys, it's Benson from Privy. Thanks for being here today. Today I'm going to do a quick search around the nation to find the hot areas. Give you guys an idea of where are some of the areas you might consider looking for deals. The average investor looks for deals based off of convenience. They look for deals where they live or where they work, or if they do anything that's maybe outside of their local area, it's based off of some sort of history they have with the property. And sometimes people's the benefits of them searching in certain areas overlaps with what the data says, but that's not always the case. So what I would encourage people to do is to look for what's called investor activity. So investor activity are actually deals that other investors have already done. And so what we're able to do is we're able to extract this investor activity using our nationwide data set that it covers the entire United States. So this data includes all the owner information, mortgage information, deed data. We've got the current and historical sales and transaction history. So we're able to extract that information out using our proprietary algorithms. And so you can see here on the map that there are certain areas that are hotter than others. The larger the circle, the higher the number, the more activity there is here. And so you can see here as you move east into the Midwest and the East Coast, you can see here there's a lot more activity than in kind of middle America, where I live in Denver here, and you can see there's a little hot spot right here, but around that in Kansas, Nebraska, and northern Oklahoma City, New Mexico, like there's not a whole lot going on. So instead of putting yourself in a position where you're going to put a lot of extra time and effort into an area because you may not have good investor activity, you basically want to look where other people are already doing deals. And this is also a great way to learn markets based off of what others are doing. So instead of just kind of randomly looking or using the shotgun approach, be very specific and use that kind of the sniper approach and reverse engineer the process. And what we call that is the reverse REI system. And so we can look at the map here and see that there's several areas that are hotter than others: Chicago, Indianapolis, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, St. Louis looks pretty hot. And then as you move even further south, you see that there's some areas here in looks like North Carolina. And then you move down into Florida, there's certain areas that are hotter than others down here as well. So let's look at Florida. Florida is very interesting because there are areas that are just like this south, like you would see in Mississippi and Louisiana, but then there are areas that are really kind of touristy. So it's a kind of an interesting mix of different kinds of properties, which would make potentially good fix and flips or wholesale deals, but a lot of long-term and short-term rental opportunities in these areas as well. So let's go ahead and zoom in here. And then these clusters are actually going to break up into smaller clusters. And then we're going to be able to see like where the activity is. So when I look at kind of Western Florida here, this is a hot area in general, but there's areas here like St. Petersburg, which is hotter than if you go into, say, Tampa. So let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit further here, and then we're going to be able to get more information about this area. Then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to isolate the area here so I can actually start to dig in and see what's actually going on now. All of these red icons on the map are the deals that were completed in this St. Petersburg, Clearwater area in the last 12 months. And so there is no flag in the MLS that says, hey, this house was a deal. We're basically, because we've got this current and historical data, we're able to extract that information and then use our algorithms to compare what they bought it for and what they sold it for, and make some assumptions that these were some deals. So you can see here, there's quite a bit of activity going on here. So let's take a look at one of these. So here's a property that closed recently. This is 3811 Huntington Street Northeast. And this report right here is called a live comparative market analysis. So this is a report that our system builds for every single property in the United States, which will basically, it's like a modified appraisal, right? So this is the process that I would use as a real estate agent or an appraiser would use to basically pull comps on a property to try to determine what it's worth in its current condition and what it's worth, what it'll be worth if it were to be fixed up. Now, these are the colored comparables. So our system uses the major property characteristics to pull comparables, but instead of it taking me an hour or two to comp out a property using my experience and access to MLS using my license, this all happens in a fraction of a second. And we also pull in other data sources like rental data. So if you're actually renting out properties, you can see that data here. And this all updates live. So if a property here that's under contract, for example, closes, tomorrow, then this will update to sold, and then will give us the final sold price and calculate some other things. What we're showing here is the before and after for that deal we were just looking at. So this is a property that was purchased in September of last year, and they bought it for 355 grand. This thing was actually on the MLS. And then over here on the right is the after product. So they sold it for 477,500. And then what you can do is you can actually get into this and see, what they did to it, what kind of materials they used, what kind of design, paint scheme, what's selling, what's driving value in this particular area. So the goal of that is to not recreate the wheel. Basically, you just want to emulate the success of other investors and then try to do what they're doing, because it shortens your learning curve, and you're basically going to be able to do what level of construction and what basically the neighborhood will allow for. Then we calculate things like construction period, hold time, days on market. So lots of valuable information here. Now, this is great for the fix and flip community, but it's also good for BRRRR. The hybrid approach, when you buy it from the perspective of fix and flipper, but then instead of selling it after, you keep it as a rental. That's called BRRRR. It's an acronym, BRRRR. It's great for just straight rentals, because houses that are rents, as you can see, there were rentals in this area. A lot of those homes perform better in areas where there's higher economic activity. So the values of homes go up, they appreciate faster than in areas where there's not fix and flip activity. You can get higher rents. On short-term rentals, you can get higher short-term rental rates through Airbnb or VRBO. And then you can see who is actually the owners. Here's the owner information. You get the mortgage information, the deed data. If there was ever a foreclosure on the property, you'll be able to see that. And then you can see information about who was involved in these transactions. So it looks like the people that flipped this thing was Michael and Eileen Lee are the people that flipped this property. So it's good information to have if you're building a portfolio for yourself, or if you're wholesaling, you can actually see who the actual fix and flippers are in the area. The goal is to always build that buyer's list. And, a lot of people will build a buyer's list kind of just using information that's available to them. But when you look at actual sold properties, you can get a little bit closer to who that buyer is, because you can see the properties they just closed. Like this one was EPS Florida LLC. That's a company that you would want on your buyer's list if you were doing wholesale deals in this particular area. So this will really help you basically learn another market quickly by researching what other people are doing in the local area. You can see which strategies are effective. Is this a great area for rental properties? Is this a great area for doing fix and flip or wholesale. So you can see those properties here. But one of the next steps here is, okay, well, maybe I want to look for deals that are available right here. Well, there's multiple sources of properties. You can go for off-market properties like absentee owners, vacancies, tired landlords, zombie properties, all leveraging our filters, and our system will go in and it will look for off-market properties if that's what you want in this particular area. And then the system, you just save that search and the system will email you updates as those properties are found that match your deal criteria in real time. So you're constantly monitoring the area for new opportunities. The other thing that's great here is you can actually look for on-market deals that are available too, because on the off-market side of the business, it's mostly a sales and marketing approach, right? You're doing a lot of outreach. It's outbound marketing, it's outbound sales, cold calling, and that's very time intensive and it's a very specific skill set, and not everybody is great at that sort of thing. So, if you're not good at that, or you want to have a portion of your business that is more consistent and will deliver you more consistent deal flow, then you can try the on-market approach. And when you leverage our technology, you can basically, find deals much easier just by leveraging the comping algorithms in our automation. So I'm actually going to turn the system to look for deals that are available today that are better than, say, 63% of the ARV. This is just an arbitrary number I picked, but most people are looking at 70% and down. And then I'm going to, let's say I don't want to pay more than 250,000, and you just use your own criteria, or if you're wholesaling, maybe pay attention to what your buyers say they want. If you're a real estate agent, this is a great way to find deals for your clients. I know one of the reasons why we built this system in the first place was because we were just spending way too much time in the MLS running comparables and searching for deals all day, and it's just like banging your head against the wall. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to turn this on, and then our system is going to pull comps on all the properties in this area, and it's just going to show us the ones that match our specific deal criteria. So here's several properties. We found 14 that are available today that match that 63% ARV or better. So it's comparing the ask price of the home to the price of the comparables, and it's looking for that margin. So the one that just came on the market today that's most recent is this one on 4060 30th Street. It's for sale for 150 grand. It's a 3-bedroom, 1-bath. The house is in some serious need of attention. I don't know what happened in this place, but it is extremely rough. It looks like someone got in a brawl in there. Probably there were squatters. It's just in bad shape, but this is an opportunity, right? So the reason why our system flagged this property as a deal is because down here is the comps. So this property right here, you can buy it for 150,000, and the closest sold fix and flip, right, that happened just recently is right here that sold for 280 grand. This one sold for 289,000. And so the goal of using this reverse REI strategy, like I just showed you, by beginning with the end in mind and then working backward, is to be in an area where there is fix and flips around the subject property, because it's really simple to prove after repair value for either an appraiser, if it's your own deal, or if you're going to wholesale, if several houses in the area were renovated. And then what you can do is you can open up those properties and see what they look like, and just get a sense of, okay, well, what drives value in these areas. This house sold for 280 grand. And this is an example of what a house in the area looks like. It's, kind of light and bright, and they open the wall up here, nice hardwood floors. So 280 grand is a potential after repair value of our subject property. This one's 289. So if these two homes that were close, this one's at 245, then you're right around 50 to 55% of ARV for this house that we can buy right now that's on the MLS. And what's so great about that is when you target on market properties, and by the way, a lot of people think you can't buy on market deals. It's absolutely not true. We're looking at one right now that's available. The seller's motivated, exactly what they want for it. The offer process is already established. You can get other people involved, like a real estate agent, who can manage that whole process for you and take the the transaction from, under contract, or even, prior to that, like submitting the offer all the way to closing. And so it works really well for people who have normal 9-to-5 jobs, like the majority of us do. I don't think the majority of us are doing this full time just yet. So it's a great way to get other people involved and leverage, other professionals who understand the business and do some stuff remotely. So you don't have to feel like you have to be on the ground in these other areas. So this property right here is one that I would definitely target. It's a property that the numbers make sense. It needs work. It's in an area that has appreciation, high investor activity, good rental rates. So this would check the boxes for a lot of people out there who are looking for deals. So this is 4060 30th Street North. If you got questions about how you can do this in your business, just reach out to me. You can send me a DM or reach out to me through the website, which is getprevynow.com. So I hope everybody has a great rest of the week and happy hunting. All right, cool guys. Well, I'm done with that. What did you guys think of this property? Feel free to unmute yourself or put your questions in the chat.
It has a
I
lot
think
of
it's
potential.
awesome. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this one could be for you, actually.
Actually, yeah, I wrote down the address.
You should definitely check that one out. Kamar, are you in Florida? Where are you at again?
I am Birmingham, Alabama.
Birmingham. Okay, cool. So, well, you're not far from here then, right? You could probably get there. And what was that, like a 7 or 8 hour drive?
Yes.
I mean, that might be a nice weekend trip.
Mhm.
Can I ask a question about this? Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. Hey, Keith.
Okay. How you doing?
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm looking at this property, and 'cause I know when we do the ARV, we're not really taking into account the rehab that's involved. So looking at this property, like, what are we thinking? This is like a heavy rehab, complete, top to bottom.
Well, the ARV has nothing to do with construction. It's just what it's worth after it's fixed up.
Right.
So the ARV in this house is right around, what would you say, 250, 280? Let's see.
245, 280, 289.
Yeah, 280.
in
I
that.
mean, there's even stuff in the area at 309. This one hasn't sold yet. So all we're
Yeah.
looking at is the percentage of ARV.
So
So
I'm
you
just
compare what
thinking,
you can
like,
buy it for to what the after repair value is. And so even if you factor this one in, it just starts to drop even a little more. And that one's been on the market for 11 days and it's not under contract yet. So that's probably high, right? If it's still
Mhm.
sitting there.
yeah.
So, I would feel comfortable in that 280, 290 range for the after repair value.
I
Mhm.
mean, so on the property, in the condition that that's in right now, I mean, what are we thinking? Just looking at it as far as repair costs,
Repair costs, you could do a price per square foot.
right?
So the square feet on this one is 1,214. Like a cosmetic fix and flip is anywhere from like $20 to $30 a square foot. So let's say this is 50, right?
That's a figure I came up with in my head too.
So let's do
About
50.
I'm thinking 50 as well.
So we're looking at 60,700 on that.
Mm.
So let's just say we use that 70% rule.
Yeah.
I don't know if that 70% rule would apply in this particular area, but let's say that we went with 290 times 0.7 minus 70. So you'd be at 133 if you used a strict 70% rule on this one, if
Right.
it was really going to cost $50 a square foot.
Right.
So you'd be, $17,000 less than ask price.
Right.
So
So
I don't know
means-
what formula you're using, but the majority of investors that I'm looking at these days they're starting to get
70-30.
to realize of what's going on in the market as far as what
75.
will actually get them a deal. But it all depends, right, on who your buyers are. So there's fix and flippers in this area that may may take this off, may pay you an assignment fee for this if at, 160, and if they got it at 160, what did I do wrong? 160 divided by, it's at 55. I mean, those are still decent numbers. It all depends on, what the actual construction costs end up being. But I think if this same deal was available in Colorado, they would riot just to get their hands on it. So it
So when I-
depends
so
on
when I look
depends on
at-
the area.
So when I look at that, and so say if I was an investor and I paid 160 for that, and then I put another 60, is that the number we came up with, 60,
70.
70?
Hmm.
So I paid 70 for that. That's at 230 right there. And then what was we going for at ARV, about 289
Yeah, we said I put 290.
or 290? That's 230. So that's like 60. Oh, that seems
Mhm.
pretty tight to me. Because you gotta think about the cost of financing, closing costs, realtor costs, all of that.
Hmm. Absolutely. You got to factor all that in there.
Yeah. I don't think I would buy it as a, not for 160.
Yeah, well, then if you wouldn't buy for 150, then you submit an offer that fits your business model more.
Yeah,
This is just the ask price.
right.
So with this, what's cool about it is we know what they want for it. If you did an off-market property, you have no idea what they want for their house
Right.
until you spend 2 months tracking them down and trying to call them, and you finally get them on the phone and you ask them what they want for it, and they tell you 180. You're like, oh my God, right? So there's no money there. So you just wasted all that time.
Right.
With this, at least you know what the starting point is, and then you can negotiate from there.
Mhm.
That makes sense.
And I do believe that there would be several buyers that would buy this for me for this price. This one will go under contract tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean, it
think
might not
so.
be tomorrow, but there will be offers in it today. And then as soon as the seller sorts through all those offers, this thing will be gone. So the reality of the situation is that there are lots of investors out there that realize that if they want to play in this sandbox, they can't expect to get 20% ROI on their deals. Now they're accepting 10, 12, 13, 15%, because that's what they have to do deals. Other than that, if they're not willing to accept those kinds of margins, then
Yeah,
they might as well just put their money back in the stock market.
yeah.
So that's just an example.
Realistically now it's about 10%. You're hardly getting 12 and 15 right now.
Is that what you're seeing, Sandra?
Yes, the market, yeah, because like that one for 150, somebody will go in there right now and offer them more for it, even as it is,
Mm,
because the market is so hot here.
right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And Clearwater is a very nice area. And you know what would be good over there? Airbnb. Somebody will buy that, fix it, and do Airbnb in that right now.
100%.
Yeah.
This
So
one
that's a hot property.
you can get for 109. This one just sold for 240. So that's at 45%-ish.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if you're not keen on doing on market, there's lots of off market opportunities here, right? So you just filter to off market. So you turn the MLS deals off, uncheck active, click sold, and then come down here and choose what filters you want to use to look for those opportunities. So let's say you wanted to do zombie properties. So these would be absentee
Benson,
owners.
sorry, not to disturb you. Where did you click to switch from MLS to the off market?
Oh, I went and I clicked the radio button. That one was already on. So you can turn it on, you click, turn it off, you click in the same place.
Oh, and this is what gives you off market properties?
No, the off market already here. This is when I switch to sold is when it turns to off. So when it's active, it's on market. When it's sold, it's off market.
Oh, I thought, okay, so that's what you do to find off market properties. I was, oh, and then you use the date to see when it was sold and know whether or not that person would be selling it. In other words, when you said off market, I just think that it's just people who are sitting in their homes, like me, who get letters every day from someone offering to buy my house. It's not those that you call off market?
It is every property that's not on market is off market.
Ah, got you. Okay.
Yeah, your house is off market, my house is off market.
Yes.
I mean,
Okay,
potentially
but
everybody's
because you clicked
house that's here is off
sold,
market unless
okay.
it's currently for sale.
I got you.
But then you have these distressed seller situations, which would increase the likelihood that an off market property
I got
might be in
you.
a situation where this person wants to sell it,
Okay,
which is why people go for these scenarios, right? So like if I wanted to look for zombie properties,
yeah,
so these are absentee owners and these are people who where the house is vacant as well, and that's been reported by the post office. So they deliver mail there, and after a certain period of time, if the people don't take the mail and bring it in the house or take it out of the mail chute, then the postal worker he makes a note on his route that house is vacant,
okay.
and that's reported to the county.
Listen, to me, my point of view is that, the off-market properties, if you're mailing to these people, you're just spending money and you're not sure if these people actually wanted to sell their homes.
It's true. Yeah, it's a numbers game. Just like I was
Yeah.
talking earlier with Camiar about agents, this is why, I mean, the ROI on that is extremely low. I know people that are spending $10,000, $15,000 on mailing campaigns and not getting a single deal out of it.
Yeah,
I believe the zombie properties or the pre-foreclosure, because we know that pre-foreclosure are people that get the notice of default, but they're not in the foreclosure. So it's a better chance for you to, kind of get a deal by helping these people. The zombie properties that these properties are vacant. I think if you can find these people, their current address, because they're not living in the property, if you can find them and market to them, I think it's a better chance there than off-market properties.
I agree.
Yeah, well, these would still fall in the off-market category. It's just another filter on top of it.
Right.
So the sold would make it off-market. So you got this bucket of off-market properties, and then you stack on top of that zombie properties. So we're going to bring up, a percentage of those that could be opportunities. So these are also off-market as long as sold is checked.
Mm-hmm.
If I switch over to active, it'll show me active properties that are zombie.
Okay.
You can have
okay.
pre-foreclosures that are currently for sale on the market.
Okay.
So just always be conscious of what status you're choosing. If you have active, you can still do zombie property active searches, right? So I could do that right now. So let's do a zombie property active search. Remember, it's just an absentee owner where there's no renter in it.
Okay.
So over here on the
Oh, wow.
left, here's a property that
Oh,
came
wow.
on. It's 3717 Utica Street.
Oh, wow.
Right here. This is the absentee owner. This right here
Yes.
means there's no mortgage. It's an LLC. They've owned it more than 10 years. That's a tired landlord. It's vacant. And it's a zombie property.
Okay.
So this is an on-market property. Now this is a good angle too, because here's the thing, just to kind of go to Danny's point. This house is in a bad situation and they want to sell.
Right.
Which is opposed to if it was an off-market property, you knew that maybe it was vacant and it was an absentee owner, but you didn't know if they wanted to sell,
Right.
right? But when you, now that you know they want to sell, so does everybody else. Everybody else also knows they want to sell. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? There's pros and cons of both approaches, and some people are really keen on one strategy over the other. And I would just, figure out what fits for your particular skill set. Like I was mentioning earlier, not everybody wants to get on the phone and cold call people. It's not fun. People can be mean,
Yeah.
or, they can yell at you and they can call you all kinds of names and
Yeah.
threaten to kill you.
And the F word. Oh my God, I've got so many F words.
Have you? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm laughing, but it's not fun though.
No, it's not.
I mean, just curious, Sandra, because I know you have been doing some of that work. Like how has that been working for you?
Okay, so I couldn't deal with it, so I got cold caller. He's actually in the Philippines.
Okay. How's that working?
Philippines.
Is it working okay?
I keep saying Philippines. And the same thing, he would get those nasty words. As a matter of fact, like he left messages, he would get those too. I did get, especially from your site, a few that I could call and kind of build relationship, but then I got outbidded because somebody else can come in and pay a little bit more. I came so close to a few of them, and then somebody else just getting on and offer a little bit more. And so I didn't get it. But then I have to know how much I have to pay for my money, the money I'm borrowing. So I know my limitation. This is why I can tell you now that if you're looking for anything more than 10%, it's not going to happen. And a lot of lenders, well, now they're a little bit more flexible because the market is so tough, but a lot of lenders didn't want to lend a newbie if you're not looking at 12-15%. So that's kind of was like my struggle.
Gotcha.
There are different reasons to where, I get kicked out of property for different reasons. But I still keep pressing. And I love your site because it gives you a lot of information, and especially now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's certainly helpful to have that full picture. One of the new things, so we have the new list view coming out where you'll be able to download your results and then skip trace, but you'll also be able to upload. So that's another one of the benefits to Privy is that, sometimes you'll buy a list from some company, right? And you get a spreadsheet, and then you go and you skip trace it, and maybe you've got an email or a phone number. But when you're looking at that spreadsheet, you don't know values, you don't know comps. So what you can do is you can take that list and you'll be able to upload it to Privy. And then our system will build a comparative market analysis for all those properties that were just in the spreadsheet before. And then when you're calling, you've got a comparative market analysis up right in front of you, and you can see the investor activity in the area. And if you were smart, and maybe you have a list that you got, from some other service, or, the counties, a lot of these counties, I know with Denver, right? I mean, you can download a foreclosure list right from the website. You don't have to pay for it. And then you can go and you can do your work that way.
Okay.
So there's some, less expensive ways of doing it. But I guess my point is that you'll be able to upload it in here and then get that comparative market analysis in front of you to be able to see the comps, and then have a more intelligent conversation with them about their property.
Right.
If they come right out of the gates and say, oh, I want 400,000 for this, and you look and you're like, well, there's one house that sold for 400,000. I can see that's the house you referred to, but that was a complete fix and flip. And you can show them the pictures, right? And say, hey, this is why you think it's worth 400, but your house hasn't been renovated since 1922. So this is why I'm offering you, you know, X, Y, Z. So it can make a big difference in the way you approach a property when you're armed with the data, as
Yes.
compared to just having some house that's in a spreadsheet with
Yes.
information.
And don't
So-
forget in a short space of time, because what's happening here with Privy is that you're getting everything, all the information that you need right there, that you can make quick decision, because that's what's needed now,
Mhm.
being able to make the quick decision.
So what you're looking at right here is phase 1 of the list view, which once it's officially launched, I'll make sure I get a training video out for you guys so you can watch it on demand, but we'll be doing some live training in the upcoming sessions. But you'll be able to now share multiple properties at once. In the past, you could only share one at a time.
Mm,
So I can click share, and then it creates a link that will go to a list of properties, not just the comparative market analysis for a single home. And then you'll also be able to add these to a list. And then once it's in that list, you'll be able to download it into a spreadsheet that will contain the owner information and address, so that you have the necessary information to skip trace. And then, you know, some of the companies that are out there now that are some of the bigger ones that you can work with are like Batch Leads is a reputable company. Lead Sherpa
Okay.
is a good company. Those are two that you might
Hello.
consider. And then early next year, probably maybe
Hello.
late this year, we'll be adding skip tracing into Privy, and then you'll be able to keep
Okay.
it in the system, and then we'll be competitively priced.
Can I ask a question on that?
Absolutely, go for it.
Would you, or do you now have a way of saving that
Hello.
information in Privy? As far as
سلام علیکم.
ownership
بفرمایید.
information, skip trace information,
هستین؟
stuff like that?
چه حال چه خبر؟
Yeah, well, there's a way that you can, so like right here, if I added this to a list, over here in my properties is your saved properties and the CMAs for each of those. So I'm not 100% sure I understand the question, but if I were to like bring this property up right here, down here in the public record section is the owner information. It's always updated in the comparative market analysis. And then once you turn it into a list in our system with this, it'll save it. It'll save the entire list to my properties.
Okay,
Does that answer your question? And then if you export it, obviously it'll be in your CSV.
okay, but, so you have everything, but you don't have the contact information, like the phone number.
Right, that's where the skip tracing comes in. So skip tracing is the next step. So you've got the publicly available data that you get from county that you could do. You know, you go there and you can get like the name, the address, or the absentee address, and then all the other information that has to do with the house. And you can filter it in a way that makes sense for your business model. But then what you'll be able to do is export that, and then you put that into a skip tracing service, and they basically run it through, well, like a private investigator database
Yeah,
to try to find email information. One of the things that, one of the tools that we use here, and I know some of you have been on calls in the past, but for example, let's see, I've referred people to, this is Roya Equities. So this is actually a company. So if it's an LLC, I always Google it. What's this? Let me just confirm the city.
So
on
you
this.
can actually create a buyers list for your wholesale. So wholesale clients, to find wholesale clients then.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, Roya Equities. Right. So, you know, we just did a quick little Google search, and now we got information about them. And the key is the agent name. So Danielle Diambeto, and you got an address here.
Mm,
But what I would do is I would take this, and you can use the same
agent.
thing for owner information on like new owners or foreclosures or you know, people who are in distress situations. These people happen to be the ones that flipped it, but it's the same process. You can go to truepeoplesearch.com,
Mhm.
truepeoplesearch.com, and then just put the information in here
Research.
and run a free skip trace. Tampa, Florida. And it found one. Here's your phone number. Here's your email address.
Oh.
Now I've, you know, because I kind of know, you know, I've followed this process, and that's been the hardest thing for me, especially dealing with LLCs, is finding these people information, you know, like Googling it and stuff like that, and still not being able to find, you know, that agent, you know, that contact person for that LLC. It could be pretty difficult.
Yeah,
sometimes.
it is another one of those hit or miss situations. Like, that's the thing about people who are using entities. Like, one of the biggest reasons why they use entities is because they don't want to be found,
Right.
right? They want their assets to be hidden. They want
Yeah.
the insulation from liability. A lot of it is, you know, there's like a lot of tax benefits, but a lot of the times they just don't want to know. It's like that old, you know, adage. It's like, control everything, own nothing, right? Like, you don't want to own anything in your name. That's the goal. That's what the rich people do. That's what the wealthy people do, is that everything is in entities, trusts and land trusts and family. Well, family trust is one of them. And LLP. So yeah, I've seen trusts here and I can never find the trust info. I don't know how you go about doing that, but that means that it's working. But you know, this isn't a 100% hit,
Right.
but
Right.
this looks pretty good. I mean, it's all in Florida. I mean, this is a very unique name too.
Right.
I mean, there's probably not a lot of Dibendettos around. So this is probably her.
And then on the flip side of that, when you're dealing with you know, the absentees and vacant properties and things like the woman was speaking on earlier, about getting the F words at her. My problem with that has been actually finding correct information on people that you're calling. I don't know if it's just, as far as the skip tracing and stuff like that, I've only been dealing in my area. I haven't really dealt outside of my area. And it just seems as I've tried like several different skip tracing services, and they all give me the same numbers, and they're usually wrong. You know,
Yeah, it can be. I
either
mean,
out of service or the wrong number.
yeah,
You know, the letters, sending out the postcards, I'm done with that, because a lot of them are, I guess what they do is, what I was explained to was that the post office marked it as vacant, but they hadn't informed the tax collector. So that information comes from the tax collector, says that this is the address, but that's not the address because it's vacant. So all those letters end up coming back. All those postcards come
yeah,
back.
yeah. It's definitely a challenge. I mean,
Yeah, it comes with the
it's
territory.
what's that?
Yeah.
No, I said it comes with the territory. Some of the things those are some of the things that you encounter, but it's just like everything else. Like Danny, I think it was you earlier spoke about, you know, when I would talk about the marketing to people who are not selling, and you were saying about spending a lot of money. Yes, that's true, but sometimes it works out too. I have a client that have rentals, and she had these two houses that were giving her a problem for a very long time. Just to make the story real quick. And you know, she's not selling. Well, this week she told me that, you know what, people have been reaching out to her wanting to buy, and she just decided that she's going to sell them. And so she just contacted one person that has been consistent and friendly and offered to do all sorts of things for her. And she's, she just decided to reach out to them. And because she knows that what I do, she's asking me now, what should I do? What should I not do? And I was able to give her, a little feedback. So I just thought I'd add that in right now to
Yeah,
tell
it's
you
a good
that,
point. It's
yeah,
the likelihood of you, I mean, there's so many places along the way where that process falls apart, like the data, right?
yeah,
Is the data even good? And the majority of data that's out there, all of the same skip tracing companies have. There's
right,
like some central databases that control some of that and then distribute it. So if there's bad data, likelihood is everybody has it. There's
yes,
some other ways where they can, do better in some situations. But then it's like, okay, well, now we're starting off with bad data. Now we get to a situation where we're sending out mail, and do you send out like mail you open, or is it a postcard? Do you put a photo on there of the house, and or do you what color ink do you use, and all these little variables on there's going to be 150 postcards on their kitchen table. What's going to make yours stick out,
mhm,
right? And then you go to the cold calling. Well, the professionals say it's anywhere from 7 to 12 touches before you get to talk to somebody.
right,
And that's a lot, right? You just mentioned that this person actually took note of who was consistent in reaching out to her, and it was
mhm,
nice, and said, well, I know you're not ready for me right now, but if you ever decide to sell, please call me. And it
mhm,
finally worked, right? So that's
right,
proof that
yeah,
it's about the consistency and the repetition, the
repetition,
follow
yeah,
through. So that's why having like a good CRM is so important. A customer resource manager, where you manage your database of your opportunities. If you're not doing that and you're expecting to get people off of 1, 2, 3, or 4 calls
yeah,
over 2 months, it's not going to work. It just
right,
isn't. You might get lucky and you might get one, but you can't build a business around that. So you want
yeah,
to treat it like a business, get professional business tools like a professional CRM. You have to invest money in tools. I mean, Privy, it's $97 a month, but it can be some of the best money you've ever spent. And because it's automated, it's sending you potential deals, it's giving you updated information. We keep adding more and more tools to it, but this is just one tool in your toolbox. The skip tracing, like this company right here. This is one of the best things. I don't even remember who showed it to me, but it's one of the best tools that I was able to share with you guys, because it works. It absolutely works. I've found people on here for myself dozens of times that I've called and was able to reach. And yeah, I've had some people not treat me very well, but I've come to just expect it to happen, and when it doesn't, I'm pleasantly surprised.
yeah.
It's all a numbers game. All right. Well, good input. Thanks for that, Sandra. And Keith, does anybody have any other questions? I know Kmart, initially you had some questions. Jacqueline, that's great. Will you be able to see previous buyer as well? Yeah, so we go back as far as the public record data will allow. So if you jump in here, and by the way, what I just did is I switched that search that I had done before in that same area where I looked for active zombie properties. Well, I switched it over to sold. So now we're looking at off-market properties that are vacant and have an absentee owner. And I adjusted the date range. So before, when I was looking at active, I was using this and I was going in the past week. So I wanted to see the most recent listings first. You might also, in some cases, some people like using days on market and creating a floor like it's been on the market for at least 60 days or 90 days. So you would put something like that here, and that would accomplish that filter. On off market, if I used this same approach, then a house that sold yesterday would pop up at the top of the list, because I'm sorting by sold date and ascending. So it'd be stuff that sold today or yesterday would be at the top of the list. And there's not enough time there for someone to potentially be in a bad situation if it just closed yesterday, right? So you want to go back and create a date ceiling so that there isn't a sales transaction or any sold activity after a certain date. So in this case, it would give me basically 6 years of stuff to happen between when they bought the house and now. You know, in that segment is COVID, right? So we've got 18 months of potentially bad stuff happening to them, and we don't want bad stuff to happen to people, but this is the world we're in now. So then you go back, there's another 4 years of time where people could miss payments or lose a job or get divorced or go bankrupt. So this is why I go back to create this ceiling, and that gives it time for things to kind of settle in and you know, potentially create more opportunities. So then you just click run search, and now this is going in and it's finding those properties. And let's see if there's zombie, sold, drawn, oh, past week. I didn't change that. I thought I ran that search. Let's go back. Now we can come in here, and then once you get in close enough, then these clusters will break up into different areas, and then you can zoom in, and then they'll turn into the actual properties, the red icons in the map. And then we can see some houses here like this one. So this one was sold back in 2015. And here, look at all the situations. It's in pre-foreclosure, it's an LLC, it's owned free and clear, absentee owner, vacant. So a lot of issues with this house that could make them potentially more motivated to sell, but it's currently off market. So they haven't gone to an agent yet and decided to sell it, but they might be convinced to sell, just like Sandra's friend was.
Yeah,
By just being contacted by somebody like you guys.
yeah,
And then you just open the property up, and here we go to the comps and see, okay, you know, here's the comparables. There's rental data in the area, so it could be a good potential rental property. And then this is owned by Black Point Assets Inc., or it's co-owned by these two companies. So this is a trust as well. So who knows what that
it's
situation
probably a
is.
rental.
What's that?
It may be rented by that company. I mean, when I say rented, they're the owners, but tenants in it or something. It's a question I'm asking.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
these are the owners. They're co-owners of the property.
Okay.
So, you know, we don't know what the situation is, but then I would just reach out. I would try to find this one that wasn't the trust.
Yeah,
So Black Point Assets Inc. is who I would reach out to. And then you just put them into your CRM, and yeah, that's an opportunity there. And then what you can do is you can just, you know, filter this, save it so you can get updates on it, or you can create a list and save it to my properties. And then here soon, hopefully really soon, we'll be able to export those lists into a spreadsheet that you can skip trace.
okay.
So we're up against the hour, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. And you know, if anything comes up you need help with, please let me know. Just send me an email. The next training is this Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern. And then we got a bunch of really cool stuff we're working on. So we'll make announcements when that export list view is all complete and available in the system. But right now you can already see phase 1, which is what we're looking at right now. We're creating lists and be able to manage multiple properties at once. So thanks to everybody for being here. I appreciate it. Have a great night, and let's talk soon. Take care.